If you are currently programming your own workouts and you're just kind of feeling lost on how to do your training splits, this video is just for you if you are currently working out 4 times per week. And by working out, I do mean resistance training, so I'm not going to cover any like group fitness or cardio type of workouts today. I will strictly just be talking about resistance training or weightlifting. My name is Kelsey Nanini, certified strength and conditioning specialist and certified nutrition coach. I'm here to help you go from frequent gym goer to strong, confident, educated athlete. And as mentioned, today I'm going to help you do just that by giving you some inspo for your training splits if you are currently strength training 4 times per week. And if you are currently programming your own workouts and you have not yet watched my series all about how to create your own workouts, make sure to go watch that before getting into this video so you have a little bit more context for creating your own workouts. I'm going to be covering 5 different options for training splits if you are currently training 4 times per week. The first being the most conventional and upper-lower split. So essentially you'd be alternating between upper-lower for 4 straight days. For most of my clients that are training 4 times per week, I typically program in their workouts Monday, Tuesday, rest day Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday with the weekends off. Obviously, this is not going to work for everyone and each individual's schedule is going to vary, so it is important to figure out which training days work best for you and which ones you'll stay most consistent with. So with the upper-lower split, your upper days would be focused on your chest, shoulders, back, biceps, and triceps, and then the surrounding musculature, essentially working basically from the hips up. And your lower would be primarily focused on your quads, glutes, hamstrings, and your calves. And again, that surrounding supporting musculature. So basically working from your hips down. Option number 2 would be a push, pull, and then 2 lower days. So that could look something like lower, push, lower, pull. Push, pull being the upper focused workout. So with a push movement, that is when you are primarily focused on pushing the weight. So that would be a chest press or a shoulder press or a tricep extension. Think about in the concentric phase, you are pushing the weight. So at the point your muscles are shortening, aka your concentric contraction, that is the pushing motion. And then your pull days would be where you are pulling. So the concentric motion is where you are pulling the weight. That would be a lat pull down, a row, bicep curls. Most of the time your pushing is related to the anterior side of your body outside of your triceps, and vice versa for pull, it's related to the posterior side of your body outside of your biceps. The difference between option 1 and option 2 is option 1 would be working the entire upper body on each of those upper body days, whereas option 2 would be splitting it into the push and the pull. So you would be doing a little bit more volume with those specific muscle groups on those 2 upper body days for option number 2. Option number 3 would be getting into a little bit more of a bro split or a bodybuilding split where, again, you'd stick with the push and the pull, but then we'd get a little bit more nitty gritty into the lower body. You could either do something like the glutes and the hamstrings on one day and then the quads and the glutes on the next day, or doing just a full glute day with some supporting movements if you're looking to grow your glutes. And then a full lower day. You could also do if you're trying to specifically grow like your quads and maybe adding in hamstrings as well. If you don't have any desire to grow your glutes, maybe you're doing like a quad hamstring day and then a full lower day just to also get some of the glutes worked. So you can kind of play around with that split based on what your current goals are, but you're essentially starting to break down the muscle groups a little bit more on those desired days. Option number 4 is very similar. You're going to be continuing to break down the muscles into smaller areas focused per day. This is getting a little bit more creative, if you will. So it would be doing like an anterior upper day into a posterior lower day, and then a posterior upper day and an anterior lower day. Now, as a side note, I'm not a huge fan of only doing anterior lower because that's essentially really only the quads and maybe your psoas, maybe your anterior tibialis, but it is a lot of volume just on that one muscle group on the front side. So I sometimes will sub that out for a full lower day just to give the quads a little bit of a break so we're not doing as high a volume to prevent achy knees and extremely sore quads that prevent you from doing a lot of different activities. Some quad soreness and just generalized soreness is totally okay. But in personal experience, if you have extremely sore quads, it makes it very difficult to do a lot of different things like walking up the stairs. In which case, another option with option number 4 would be again doing the anterior upper, posterior lower, posterior upper, full lower. And then the last option, option 5, this is getting a little bit more creative and probably for the more advanced client, but it would be doing upper lower and then a high volume and a low volume day, in which case there'd be 2 full body days. So that way you're getting a little bit more work of the upper and lower as a whole across the week versus just having 2 upper and 2 lower. You're kind of getting 3 days of working those 2 ends of the body, if that makes sense. So again, it would be upper and then lower, and then 2 full body days where 1 is that high volume and 1 is that low volume day. As a more of a beginner touch to this, you could do this same split, but just do an upper, lower, and then 2 full body days as well. I will sometimes do that if I'm transitioning a client into 4 days that is used to doing 3. So if you are somebody who's been only training 3 days and you're trying to transition to 4, what I would potentially suggest is having that 4th day as an optional day, in which case we do upper, lower, full body, and then full body optional. I'm a big fan of doing optional days, especially as we're transitioning into more training days, to allow for some autonomy for each individual client depending on the type of week they're having. This kind of goes back to my previous video of the 3-day training split, which if you haven't watched it yet, make sure to go do so, where I talk about flexible training. The upper, lower, full body, optional full body is a great option for this. If one week you're feeling extra fatigued, extra tired, maybe for females, this is one of your luteal weeks as you are approaching your menstrual phase, where you may be a little bit more low energy, a little bit more fatigued, a little more groggy, bloated, blah feeling. I get it, ladies, we're all in this together. We don't have to cycle sync, in which case we could just do maybe 1 less workout this week and prioritize more of walking and that kind of recovery. Instead of taking an entire week off of training, which can set you back, as a traditional cycle syncing would suggest, you can listen to your body, and if your cycle's hitting you a little bit harder that week, you can just do those 3 training days. Or just in general, if you're having a crazy busy week, or you're just extra fatigued, extra tired, you could take the option for the 3rd day, and then the next week, hopefully feeling better, taking that optional 4th day to continue to build up that consistency of training 4 days per week. I hope this video gave you a little bit more inspo into what it would be like to program your own workouts and which kind of training splits you have the option for within 4 days a week of training. As a review, we had 5 different options. The first was an upper lower split. The second was 2 lower days with a push and a pull as well. The third option was getting a little bit more into the bodybuilding style of training, where we're gonna be doing push, pull, and then more focused lower days. So for instance, a glute and hamstring day, and then a glute, quad, and calf day. Option 4, again, getting a little bit more into that bodybuilding style of training. We would do anterior upper, posterior lower, posterior upper, and then potentially a full lower or an anterior lower day. And then option 5, for the beginner portion of this option, you could do a lower, upper, and then a full body day with an optional full body day, or just 2 full body days for a full week of 4-day training split. And a more advanced option would be to do a lower, upper, and then a high volume full body day, and then a low volume or a moderate volume full body day. If you liked this video, make sure to check out the description box, because I included a completely free download to get some inspo on your training splits. It goes through each of the 5 options and different inspo for exercises you could include in that given day. And as always, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to see more helpful content from me, and comment below any additional videos that you would like to see from me in the future.